to develop the standard prototypes for various categories of stadia as indicated above. The prototypes were recently submitted to the ministry, and going forward we now can plan the development of facilities with estimated cost, hence avoid wastage and create standardized facilities. Considering that the ministry receives zero allocation from the exchequer for the development of sports facilities in the ministry the ministry sought and received approval from the National Treasury to securitize the Sports, Arts and Social Development Fund to raise enough resources to complete stalled projects and develop others, especially in preparation for the African Cup Championship of 2025, CHAN 25, and AFCON 2027. Although Sports Kenya is mandated by law to develop, manage, and enforce standards and regulations for sports facilities, there are no approved regulations. To bridge this gap, the ministry is in the process of developing standards and regulations for all the stadia development and management in the country. The ministry will soon be tabling to both houses the sports stadia regulations and standards for consideration and approval. To address the legislative and policy gaps in the sports sector, the ministry has gazetted a task force to review sports policy and law to align it with the 2010 Constitution, respecting the two levels of government and incorporating emerging issues, including inclusivity in sports and sports science and technology. Nyayo National Stadium and International Stadium Center Kasarani are currently undergoing refurbishment in preparation for the CHAN 25 and AFCON 2027. Mr. Speaker, it should be noted by this House that the ministry does not receive budgetary allocation from the National Treasury. The resources, because there was a question about specific budget allocation. Mr. Speaker, the resources are sourced from the Sports, Arts and Social Development Fund, with an exception of very minimal support that we have received through the budget of 20 million shillings that has gone towards construction of Malinya community grounds in Ikolomani, Kakamega County. The status of the resources allocated from the fund for the development of sports facilities across the country during this period under consideration is as follows. And I have provided a table of the resources to the Speaker. As I said, Malinya community grounds has consumed 20,000 shillings, 20 million shillings, sorry. And the work was done. That was allocated through. That's the only money allocated through the budget for development of our facilities in the period under consideration. Wote Makueni Stadium, Mr. Speaker, you can see there was a allocation in the same period of 185,439,722. Already paid 72 million shillings, and there's a difference of 113 million that is pending. In this particular project of Wote, the project is has experienced certain challenges. The original site was changed, occasioning delays in the commencement of works. The new site provided by the county government had topographical, geological challenges, necessitating variation of works to stabilize the ground, and the ministry is rationalizing the scope in line with the prototypes of TVET as indicated above in order to complete the projects. And as I said, Mr. Speaker, when it came to office, there was very varying costs of different stadia across the country. And so the two things that very key that we have done in the last 3 months, Mr. Speaker, is the first one is to make sure that we standardize the types of the stadium. And as I have indicated, 30,000 and above, 15 and above, 10,000 and above, and then 5,000 above, and from 0 to 1,000, 5,000. Number two was to do what we did with TVETs. The same way the TVET, School of TVET developed a prototype for technical and vocational institutions, we asked them to develop a prototype of these stadiums, Mr. Speaker, to avoid extremely varying cost of similar facilities across the country. Now we can develop these facilities with clarity, knowing the estimated cost of the standard of the stadium that we get. And that way, we are able then to save resources in the country. Ruringu Stadium in Nyeri, Mr. Speaker, has been pending for so many years, and so far 203 million shillings were supposed to be expended. 180 is already paid, and about 23 million shillings, 500,344 is due. And then on Kipchoge Keino Stadium, phase 1 and 2, about 444,000 million shillings have been used, 869, 550, and that's the contract sum. It was 544 million, and paid with 338 million. There is a pending bill of 206 million shillings. Mr. Speaker, yes. On the other hand, Marsabit County, also there was a contract of 240 million, and 229 million was spent. Sorry, before I go to Marsabit, I need to indicate that for the Kipchoge Stadium, the contract has been terminated to pave way for upgrading to CAF standards for hosting the AFCON 2027. And Mr. Speaker, the site has been handed over to Ministry of Defense, who are the contracting authority and project managers for all the AFCON projects. Final accounts are being prepared, and negotiations are not going to reduce claims and interest before then the new contractor can proceed through MOD, Minister of Defense. Marsabit Stadium, Mr. Speaker, I needed to indicate that again 240 million was contract sum, 229 has been paid, about 10 million is remaining. The Sports Kenya scope was completed on 30th May 2022, save for the pitch, which is to be varied from natural grass to synthetic turf because of the challenges of water in that region. Construction of VIP pavilion by the county government stalled with glaring structural integrity shortfalls, and materials and testing department under the Ministry of Roads has given the remedial actions. The county has requested the national government to assist in completing the works, and the request is under consideration. Kirubia Stadium in Tharaka Nithi, Mr. Speaker, 114 million has been spent. The contract sum, 73 million has been paid, 41 is pending, and the project is practically complete. However, there is a problem with the grass that was planted by the contractor and needs to be replaced. The contractor is currently replanting the grass and sorting the snags before then releasing the stadium to the county government. Bugungu Stadium, Mr. Speaker, in Kakamega County, as the contract sum of the works for the Ministry of Sports and the national government is 152 million. Already, Mr. Speaker, 152 million has been expended, and Mr. Speaker, the project is practically complete. However, the grass was planted. Sorry, that's Bukungu. The project is jointly being developed by the county government of Kakamega and national government, and it's ongoing. Mr. Speaker, we have Masinde Muliro Stadium in Kandui, Bungoma, which was developed with a contract sum of 799,160,706. The project is in the final stage of roofing, and it is due for completion the end of this year. Mr. Speaker, on the part of Kinoru Stadium, Meru, the contract sum was 238,758,410. 214 million has already been paid. There is a pending bill of 23 million shillings. The project was completed in 2022, and it is complete. Mr. Speaker, Karatu Stadium in Kiambu, the total contract sum is 157 million shillings, 429,578, and the amount so far paid is 98,262,122.21 cents, and 59 million is pending. The project is ongoing, with the completion date being end of December 2024. Moi Stadium Embu, the contract sum was 476 million. 475 has been paid. There is a pending bill of 1 million shillings, 633,000, and it was completed and handed over to the county government of Embu. Mr. Speaker, the Kipchumba Kericho Green Stadium in Kericho County, the contract sum was 408 million. It was paid and completed and handed over to the county government. Of course, Mr. Speaker, there is a request by the county for additional works to be done on the running track and so forth, and that also is under consideration. Kwale Stadium, Mr. Speaker, the stadium was practically was jointly done between the county government and the national government, and it's the most recent project, 568 million. Already 490 million is paid, 78 million is pending bill, and practically it is complete. The contractor is working on the final touches before then eventually handing over. Mr. Speaker, on the question 125B, the ministry is co-hosting, which is actually about allocation of resources for refurbishment of facilities for AFCON, for CHAN and AFCON. Mr. Speaker, the ministry is co-hosting AFCON with Tanzania and Uganda after successful bidding. The Ministry of Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports is refurbishing the following existing stadia in preparation to host AFCON 2027, which is Moi International Sports Center Kasarani, Nyayo National Stadium, Kipchoge Keino Stadium, Ulinzi Training Grounds, and Police Sacco Training Grounds. The Ministry of Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports transferred the responsibility of procurement and project management of AFCON infrastructure to the Ministry of Defense to undertake the procurement of contractors and manage the development of these facilities. Therefore, Ministry of Defense is the competent ministry to respond to the procurement processes and the cost of the projects. Mr. Speaker, on the question of long-term sustainability, Mr. Speaker, the stadia being refurbished are being customized for multi-use, hence incorporation of skyboxes, Hazla bazaars, conference rooms to enable the ministry to generate revenue. Further, the ministry will engage corporate stakeholders for branding and naming rights for all our major sporting facilities. Mr. Speaker, on question 125C, which is the cost associated with consultant services within the these facilities in the ministry. Mr. Speaker, on provisions of consultant services for architectural, design, engineering services and project supervision, Sports Kenya entered into consultancy agreement for design and project management with the following consortiums, Mr. Speaker, through a public procurement competitive process. The regional consultants were procured competitively through a tender process in financial year 2016 and 2017. The budget for the period in question was 267,112,973, out of which Kenya shillings 154,054,993.99 has been paid, leaving a balance of 103,934,084 shillings and 15 cents. Mr. Speaker, on the matter of University of Nairobi Enterprise Services Limited, Kenya submitted her bid to host the AFCON Games on 2025, and assessment of the sports facilities by the African Football Governing Body, CAF, gave a status report with action areas of refurbishment for the facilities to be compliant. It is noted that the return of Kenya to participation in international football competition requires that both the national team and representing clubs to have compliant domestic venues for home matches. The absence of compliant domestic venues would mean that the championship matches be played on foreign soil. Kenya is on CAF FIFA sanctions for non-compliant facilities. For the only international facilities are available, that is Moi International Sports Center and Nyayo. This calls for immediate and urgent attention to refurbishing the stadia. Sports Kenya signed a framework agreement with the University of Nairobi Enterprise Limited for provision of consultancy services for architectural design, engineering, and project supervision on 18th of May 2023, pursuant to the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act 2015, Section 42C, for 3 years. Sport Kenya has tasked UNES Limited to come up with the architectural design, engineering, specification, and bills of quantities for the CAF and AFCON requirements. The scope was Moi International Sports Center Kasarani, training fields in Kasarani, Annex, and Kenya Academy of Sports, Police Sacco and Ulinzi Stadia, Kipchoge Keino Stadium, 64 Stadium, Eldoret Polytechnic, and University of Eldoret. Installation of tartan tracks. The execution of the consultancy shall be in accordance with the Ministry of Public Works conditions of engagement and scale of fees for professional services for building works 1987 edition and subsequent revisions. So far, UNES has been paid 15 million shillings, 583,590 for a reconnaissance survey and benchmarking exercise. Payment is according to scale of fees of public works. Finally, Mr. Speaker, question number 125D is what measures has the ministry put in place to encourage public-private partnership in development of the study to reduce financial burden on government, particularly in preparation of hosting AFCON? Mr. Speaker, I wish Senator Nyonga was here himself. I found this very interesting, considering his public pronouncements on PPPs, and I pleasantly received this very important question from him. And Mr. Speaker, currently there are no expression of interest from private sector to develop sports study in the country. However, ministry is engaging various partners to encourage PPPs in development and management of sports facilities. Perhaps, Mr. Speaker, our facilities have not reached a stage where they have a return financially for any private sector to want to invest so far. But hopefully in future, as we continue encouraging them, that they will be able to do so. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Cabinet Secretary. Senator Olekina, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the supplementary question is by the instruction by the distinguished senator who put the question. And I'll go specifically to the issue. The Cabinet Secretary, in his response, has alluded to a cancellation of one tender, which has already been partially paid. That is Kipchoge Keino Stadium, where a sum of 338 million has been paid, and there is a pending bill of 206 million. In his response, the Cabinet Secretary has indicated that the contract has been terminated to pave way for upgrading to meet the CAF standards for hosting AFCON. So the question here is this: will the public lose the 338 million, including the unpaid amount of 206, given that the contract has been terminated, according to the Cabinet Secretary, and I would assume it has been terminated by the ministry? So where does that put the issue of fiduciary responsibility and also prudent use of public resources, if that is the case? Finally, on the same issue, Mr. Speaker, if you allow me, there is an issue of a pending bill of 1 million shillings that has been pending for quite some time, and the project was completed, I think, in the year 2022 in one of the stadiums. Why would we keep that, and would that accrue interest? And this is for, trying to get it, I have my things, for number 12. This is for Moi Stadium, Embu County. It was completed in 2023, but there's a pending bill of 1.6 million shillings that has not been paid from 2023. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Cabinet Secretary.
Sorry, I didn't get the last one. Sorry.
Pending bill.
The last
1 million.
The last thing is
Go ahead, Cabinet Secretary. Go ahead, proceed and answer.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to just to be on the question of the Kipchoge Stadium, Mr. Speaker. It is true the question raised by Honourable Senator is valid. Once Kipchoge Stadium was chosen for Africa Cup of Nations matches.
Sorry. Honourable Senators, it is now 1 p.m. time to adjourn the Senate. The Senate therefore stands adjourned until today, Wednesday, 20th November 2024 at 2:30 p.m.
You will come back.